Welcome to the Journey of CyberLogic, a guide to Final Fantasy XI, Episode 21, an introduction to Dynamis. Now originally fought with groups of up to 64 players, Dynamis was the first major endgame event. Now original Dynamis occurs in the 4 main cities. Once all 4 of those maps and their zone bosses have been beaten, you gain access to a new area in Busidine Glacier. Now once it's beaten, you gain access to the final zone in Zarkabard. Now there's also a Dreamland Dynamis which consists of 4 additional zones, which we will address at a later time. Today though, we will be going over what needs done to beat each of the 4 main city zones to gain access to Dynamis-Busidine. Now original Dynamis' main reward comes in the form of relic weapons and armor. All jobs other than Geomancer and Rune Fencer have a full set of job-related armor and a relic weapon that can be acquired through this event. Now these weapons and armor can be further upgraded as well, making it so that it will be continually useful to you as you progress through endgame. Now to enter Dynamis, you need to have rank 6 in one of the 3 nations and zone into Zarkabard. You will then need to examine the trail markings at any of the cities to be sent to procure a prismatic hourglass by trading a goblin at one of the Beastman stronghold entrances, 50,000 gil. You're then ready to interact with any of those trail markings that you previously visited for your cutscene at the 4 cities to enter your first run of Dynamis. Now each Dynamis zone has 2 areas with different level mobs in them. One group is always near the entrance and comprises the majority of the zone's map. These mobs will be level 75 to 77, and here at our current level of 80 will check as a decent challenge. Now the other group of mobs are much further in and will check as incredibly tough, and that's because they are level 95 to 97. Now these will be very difficult and time consuming to take on at our current level, and links can be deadly, so I recommend you stay in the lower level mob area at this time until later on in our journey. Now there are many different focuses you can have when you enter a Dynamis run. You could be there to get some artifact armor, to farm currency, to get the clear for the map by defeating that zone's boss, or later even by farming upgrade items to upgrade the artifact armor that you acquire here. You will always begin with 60 minutes of time, but you can extend that to 2 hours by killing 5 statues that reside in the zone. Now doing so will also allow you to start triggering procs on the mobs, so that they have more single Dynamis currency drop potential. Now some of the statues that need to be killed are in the higher level mob area, so there is a bit of a risk when it comes to getting all the time extensions at our current level of 80. We will go into more detail on the proc system and how it works in a future episode when we are a bit higher level, but in this one, our main focus when entering these zones is to get the zone win and hopefully with some luck get our relic armor to drop along with our katana relic weapon. To do this, we simply seek out any of the NMs in each of the zone that are commonly near other groups of decent challenge mobs, and kill them until one of them drops the spawn item for that zone's boss, which always ends with the word Bijou. Now we are starting in Sandoria, where we are hoping that we can get a Hin Tanto to drop so that we can start our relic katana, as well as Koga Hakama for our ninja, which is our first piece of artifact equipment. Now we do this by killing mobs in the area of the NMs that we need to kill for our zone boss pop item. Now here in the map you can see where the 3 NMs spawn that you can kill that drop that bijou to spawn the boss. Now the NMs here that you can see are a summoner, a dragoon, and a ninja. You will want to be sure to use Valnaril to tank, and make sure that you have some damage dealing trust in your party, as all of the bosses in the zone possess AoE charm, which can quickly end your run once you go uncharmed, since all of your trust will have been unsummoned. I therefore recommend that you engage and then run out of range before the abilities start going off when you're fighting these bosses to make sure that it doesn't happen to you. Now keep in mind that Summoner's Astral Flow and Ninja's Machine Gallery can be potent and dangerous, especially if you have lots of ads on you, so be sure to take out the ads before you start killing the NMs that you may have aggroed. Now I was lucky enough to get both my Hintanto and my Relic Pants to drop quickly, as well as our Bijou Pop item, so now we need to focus on taking the zone boss on. Now the zone boss will spawn with 2 Orc NMs next to him, which both have the ability to AoE charm like others in the zone. Now, similar to the bosses that we've already fought in this zone, I suggest using Valnaril to quickly get hate on all 3 of the enemies that you spawned. You then have a choice to make. You can just hang outside of range to avoid any AoE charms, and hope that your trust can finish them, but this strategy largely relies on the amount of AoE stomps that go off. If it's a lot, you'll more than likely wipe due to the inability for your mages to cure through all of them. And alternatively, you can do what you see me doing here, which is blitzing the main statue NM with damage to try and end the fight before the orcs have the ability to unleash that AoE charm. Now, each of these zone bosses that we're going to take on also have the ability to use the death spell. Your only defense against this is to kill each of these zone bosses as quickly as possible. Keep in mind that if you're low on hit points, you will want to run out of range so that you can get cured and your shadows back up before heading back in to fight one of these zone bosses. Now, after you defeat the statue, the orc NMs will disappear, and you will be rewarded with a key item signifying your win. We next move on to Bastok, which I would say is the easiest of the Dynamis zones to take on. Now, there isn't a piece of ninja relic armor that drops here, so we just need to get in and get our bijou to spawn the zone boss, and we can get out of here. Now, in Bastok, there are 4 NMs that you can kill for this spawn item: a summoner, a dark knight, a black mage, and lastly a monk. Now, you can see them all listed here on the map and where you can find them. Now, the NMs in this zone can use an ability that knocks you back a great distance and then inflicts gravity upon you, making it difficult to get back into melee range. So I recommend trying to fight them with your back to a wall if at all possible, so that you don't get knocked back. Now, as with Sandoria, you want to use caution when fighting the summoner due to Astroflow, and use caution during 100 Fist on the monk as well. Now, once you get a bijou to drop, head for the zone to Gusterberg to spawn this zone's boss. Now, you'll notice no ads are spawned, which makes this substantially easier, but you still want to use Valnaril to tank in case a death spell goes off. Now, after you finish this zone's boss, you will once again be rewarded with that zone's key item, and we can move onto our next zone of Windurst. Now, in Windurst, we need to get the zone win, but also a Koga Hatsuburi, which is the most useful piece of Ninja's relic armor set. The NMs in this zone that drop the zone boss's bijou are capable of using Doom, which can be especially difficult on the Red Mage boss, which can cast it many times. There is also a monk and a summoner, which you should both use caution on when fighting, as previously mentioned. There's also a black mage as the 4th possible NM here. Now, make sure you bring holy water to assist with getting Doom off of yourself, and once you have any relic armor that you want, and the bijou, head for the spot marked NM11 on the map, and I recommend using Valnaril to tank as you done on the previous 2 maps, and to make sure that you get damage in, as always, as quickly as possible, due to not only the death possibility and AoE stomps, but also now both of those NMs that spawn can use Doom. This can quickly overwhelm your mages, so you really want to get through this one as quickly as you can. Now, after you defeat the statue, the abs will despawn, and you will be rewarded with your 3rd keyed item. We can now head to the last city zone, Juno. Now, Juno is much smaller than the other city maps, so there's a lot of mobs in a very small area. Now, links here are quite common, so be sure to pull carefully. In addition to that, there are 26 NMs that can spawn on this map that all drop the bijou that we need to spawn the zone's boss. The second most useful piece of ninja gear also drops here, the Koga Cayenne, so we also worked on getting it to drop as we farmed the boss's bijou. Also note that goblins possess a goblin dice ability that can be used to inflict a number of status ailments, reset your TP, or ability timers, or even restore the NM to full health. Now, once you have your relic armor and bijou, head to the zone line to Upper Juno and spawn the final city's zone boss. Now, there are fortunately no ads in this boss, but the chance of the death spell going off is still possible, therefore I still recommend using Valnaril to tank. It also goes without saying that if you have a trust that has the ability to stun, then it might be worth using on these zone boss kills, just in case we can hopefully get lucky enough for them to stun the death move. Now, once you finish off this 4th zone boss, we have unlocked access to Bucidine Glacier. That's where we will start facing some of the truest challenges in Dynamis. That's going to be it for this introduction to Dynamis. Now, in our next episode in the series, we will be taking on Dynamis Glacier, trying to finish Chapter 2 of the Rhapsodies of Vana'diel expansion, and testing the waters in Abysia, all at level 80. If this is your first visit to my channel and you enjoyed the content, please be sure to click the subscribe button under the video and the bell icon next to it to be notified when my future videos are released. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. We'll see you next time. Stay safe and stay healthy out there.